We're live. Hey, everybody. It is Fate's Surrender release day. I wore my special I Heart Zombies t-shirt for the occasion. I even glammed up with a little bit of zombie-ish makeup. So, yes. Oh, my goodness. Welcome to another Friday coffee chat and to the Fate's Surrender release day extravaganza. We're not really doing anything super crazy because honestly, there just is not enough time in the day, but we are going to have 4 different giveaways. One of them is going to be for those of you watching the replay. So make sure you stick around to hear how to enter and what you can win. And we're going to do some giveaways live here as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about how I got the original idea for this and a little bit about the journey. I don't want to go too far into it because I know a lot of you that have been around for a while have already heard a lot of the story of this book, but we're going to talk a little bit about it. We're going to talk about sometimes people's resistance to reading zombie fiction and whether or not you might enjoy this series if you have been nervous to jump in. I do have a couple of scenes from Death's Awakening queued up to potentially read, but then I want to get your feedback on it because I know that some people who are here to support me are not necessarily zombie fans, but this is a zombie series, and it's also a series about a pandemic, a virus that kills a lot of people. So I never want to seem inappropriate. Of course, when I first started this series, I did not dream that this would ever be an actual thing that would happen, but hopefully we will not actually see zombies in our lifetime. Somebody did mention on Facebook that let me know if you guys have ever seen or read I Am Legend. So I Am Legend is a book by, I think it's Richard Matheson. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. That was actually a very short, maybe even almost a novella, that was then made into a movie with maybe like Clint Eastwood or something, like way back in the 70s or somewhere around there, and then made into a remake movie back in the maybe early 2000s-ish, I'm not sure, but with Will Smith. And that was a really intense movie. The movie is very different from the book. The book has the villain, not the villains, but like the creatures are more kind of like vampires. In the movie with Will Smith, they are definitely more like, I don't like zombies, they give me nightmares. Yeah. But she's reading it. Thanks for being here, Janet. I Am Legend was so good. Yes, I totally agree. Oh, these are going so bad. Omega Man. Yes. So that is what it was called, isn't it? With the movie that they made first. So I Am Legend with Will Smith is an amazing movie. And he is in New York City for this. So if you have been following this particular series, New York City has been a big piece of the story in terms of, where they're trying to go. Part of the premise of this story, if you haven't started this series, is that we have a viral pandemic that has swept the country like ridiculously fast. And it's happened so quickly that pretty much all the structures and like cell phones and roads and everything is shutting down and people can't get through to each other. Well, Parrish is one of the main characters. This is a multi-POV series. So I've got a lot. This is probably this is definitely my most multi-POV in terms of point of view characters. So if you read the Shadow Demon Saga, you start out just with Harper, and then it eventually goes into 4 different points of view, including Jackson's point of view. But this series has, over time, 8 different points of view. So you do kind of switch from one person to another a lot. So that is one of the fun things about this series, is you get to know lots of different characters that are that each have their own personalities, their own challenges, and things like that. But Parrish is really kind of the main character. And her sister, Zoe, is a violin prodigy. And she's only like 10 years old, and she has been asked to go and play with a bunch of orchestras in Europe. But before she goes to Europe, she's going to stop in New York City and play for the Philharmonic. So she and her father head out to New York City. Parrish stays home with her mom, and the mom is supposed to be joining them later, and Parrish is going to be home with her aunt. So all of this happens that the dad and Zoe leave, and basically this pandemic breaks out, and Zoe gets stranded in New York. So it becomes a big piece of the series that Parrish is desperate to try to get to her sister. So definitely I Am Legend is something that has very much inspired this particular story in this book. And actually this particular book in the series more than any of the others, because there might be finally a trip into New York City in this book, but I don't want to give away too much. So let's see. Oh, Jennifer says, I'm totally a crash gal. I really love writing multiple POV. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for saying that. I absolutely love writing multiple POV stories. And I know that there are some people who don't really love them because they find them hard to follow. But I always have liked reading multiple POV stories. Like, I'm a fantasy girl. I love reading those. So it's something that I also really enjoy writing for sure. So I definitely see, let's see, several questions. How do you get in character to write each POV? You know, it's really kind of a funny thing, because I think that when I'm thinking about this series and these different characters, I really feel like that's where the whole story begins. There's like a moment where you can picture this character, you can see what they're going through. And, you know, one of the things that I wanted specifically to do with this series was I was playing around back in the day, because I started this series before I started writing, you know, so many of my other things. I wrote this first book, Death's Awakening, which used to be called Pandemic, that I had, I started it when I hadn't even started Beautiful Demons yet. So this was one of the first, and actually the first young adult novel I ever wrote. And I wrote it all. Some of you have heard this story, but some of you haven't. I wrote it all. It was about 100,000 word novel, and I finished it in 2009. And I decided not to publish it. And in 2010, I wrote Beautiful Demons instead. And when I went back to rewrite this story that I felt like could be so much better, I split it. So some of the scenes that you will read in Fate's Surrender were part of that original book back in 2009, just completely rewritten. But when I first started picturing these characters, it's like they just come to life for me. So when I'm writing the Demon series, for example, Jackson's voice comes to me so clearly. I don't really do anything like any types of tricks, except that sometimes I will write my story out of order, because I want to write all of Jackson's scenes back to back. So I really get into his head during a writing session, or I'll write several crash scenes back to back. And especially when my characters are not together, so they're like all scattered around, and you've got Crash's storyline is happening, linearly, but I'm going to split it up to kind of give you that cliffhanger feel to it. But it's really a fun thing to do, to like get into Crash's point of view or get into Harper's point of view. I know I'm switching series, but really go like 100% into that character's POV and that character's voice, and write several scenes all at once, rather than writing a Parrish scene and then a Crash scene and then a Noah scene. And that may be how you read it when you read the book. But when I'm originally writing the draft, sometimes I will stick to a lot of the same character all at once. So that's one of the fun things. I've definitely see some things going on. So Chris says, Death's Awakening was awesome. Wasn't as scary as my mind was thinking it would be. Katie says, I really don't like zombie stories, so I was really nervous about reading this series. I'm so glad that I did start reading it, as I am hooked. Your books always have me hooked, Sarah. Thank you, Katie, so much for saying that. I really have always personally loved zombie stuff. I think it's so much fun to like think about the world, how it would be and how we would react if zombies really were there. Plus there's this idea of how it would really bring people together. And I also love in stories when you've got different people that have played around with zombie tropes and the way zombies are done, because you have stuff like 28 Days Later, where you have fast zombies, and they're not like slow rambling zombies. They're dead people that are running super, super fast. World War Z in the movie is like that as well. But then you also have the slow kind of Walking Dead kind of zombies or Night of the Living Dead kind of zombies. So it's kind of fun to play around with those different types of zombies. And then, of course, you've got, oh no, it's going to totally leave my mind, but you've got, what's the one that's actually kind of like a romance? It is a romance, and she falls in love with the guy and he's a zombie. What is that called? I know you guys are going to scream it at me. Somebody is screaming at their screen right now, like, how could you forget? Somebody come on, follow through. I know it was a book first, and then now it was a movie, but you've got all different kinds of zombies. So it's really fun. And Carrie, actually, where are you, Carrie? Love zombies. So excited to read it. It's waiting on my Kindle. It's my deadline reward. Carrie is a new author as well. And Carrie, if you want to throw your link in the comments, you absolutely can. Warm Bodies. Thank you so much, Summer and Ashley. Thank you guys. Oh, Momo Keen came up with it too. Carrie also has a zombie apocalypse book. I have purchased it, but I have not had time to read it. So it will also be a reward for me. Carrie, if you want to throw your link or the title of your book down there, we would love to hear about it. Oh, Bethany, thank you for being here. Thank you so much. If you guys didn't know, we are live in multiple platforms right now. We are here on YouTube, also on my Facebook page and in the Coven. So welcome to everybody who was able to show up. This is going to be kind of fun. Oh, Train to Busan is also really, really good. I thought I heard someone saying that they were going to make a sequel to that. So definitely check that out. Hichigo says, I have a book too coming soon on my channel, which is awesome. Hi, Vivian. I'm so glad you're here. If you're a writer and you are not following Vivian here on YouTube, she has an amazing channel as well. So the whole gang's here. I'm so glad you guys are here. All right, so we're going to do a quick giveaway of a copy of a paperback for The Witch's Key with this cover. So we are going to be reading next, coming up on this channel on YouTube, we are going to be reading The Witch's Door, which is the second book in the Witch's Key series. If you were not here for this or you didn't know that this was happening, we have spent quite a bit of time in 2020 as a kind of random surprise thing that we decided to do. We have read this book, The Witch's Key, live on YouTube. So this was such a fun thing to do, and I cannot wait to start reading book 2. I do not have an exact date for you guys yet, but it will probably be starting before February. So I will keep you updated. I just want to make sure that I am a little ways into the story before I start reading it live so that I don't end up kind of stressing myself out here. But The Witch's Key is going to be starting, the book 2 will be starting soon. So I'm going to give this away. So if you have a moment to make a comment, and I will choose, and I might choose someone from Facebook or someone from YouTube, but I will just choose someone from the comments. So I'm going to give you guys just a second, and then I'll kind of scroll up and choose someone from that. But I cannot wait to start reading that book to you guys. We'll be reading that on Mondays and Wednesdays with a coffee chat on Friday. So we'll start going live again Monday and Wednesday every week at 4 p.m. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Yay. Oh, really? Alana says, I can't wait for The Witch's Door. Those lives are. Yes, I agree. So much fun. So much fun. And we'll do even more like swag and all kinds of stuff. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait. All right. So I am going, oh, I saw a ton of comments come by all of a sudden. All right. I'm going to close my eyes and just pick a comment. If you have not won something yet, you are free to win. If you already have this book and you would like to get a different book, just let me know. Akshara V, you have won a copy of The Witch's Key in paperback. So all you have to do to claim your paperback is send me an email at sarah@sarahcannon.com. And I will send this out to you. Just send me your full name and address and I will get it out in the mail. I am also currently signing. Y'all, I had a lot of books to sign, so please be patient. I am doing the best I can, but they will be going out. So we have a huge stack of Beautiful Demons over here, almost 200 copies, I think. 150 something copies maybe of Beautiful Demons that I'm going to be signing and sending out over the next week. So if you ordered one, you should be getting a tracking number coming up really soon, within the next week. And I will do a giveaway of Beautiful Demons coming up as well. So in this live stream while we're here. So definitely fun. All right. So Laura says, I'm just so happy you've been able to complete this book. It must just feel amazing. So I am going to talk for just a second. Thank you, Christabelle, for saying that. I will talk for just a second about why this did not end up being the last book of the series. So this is like major, like deep breath time. So many of you know that I had planned originally to make this a trilogy. Sadly, the Beautiful Demons trilogy was also supposed to be a trilogy, and now I am working on book 11 coming up. So that's how me and trilogies go together. We do not, maybe I just should never say I'm writing a trilogy because maybe my stories always want to be longer. But I thought this would be the final book in the series. And this is really, I think, what held me up for 2 years. And George, my wonderful husband, is the one who told me this. How long ago, George? Maybe a full year ago. He told me this book the plot isn't coming together because you're trying to make it one book and it needs to be two. Nilda, famous last words. George is always right. He's going to come in and say something crazy, I know. But what he told me was, you're trying so hard to make this one book. It should be two. So stop trying to make it something that it's not. Just let it be what it is meant to be. I did my best, but this is where the real talk comes in. And you guys know that I always am super honest with y'all, and I try to give you the truth of how things are behind the scenes. Well, in my head, when I started working on this book 2 years ago, we won't even count what I did in 2009, but 2 years ago when I started really working on this book, I had in my head already a little bit of panic because this business is tough. And I don't want to go too crazy into it because I'm nothing but grateful. So I never want to complain, but this business is tough. And with the introduction of Kindle Unlimited, this business has gotten a lot tougher, and a lot of authors have lost a lot of income due to that program. So it has been, it has become an industry where a lot of people are publishing very quickly. So you guys probably, as readers, see a lot of authors that are coming out with books, every month, a brand new book. And for those of us who really do our best, but we can't write a book a month, it gets sometimes very difficult emotionally to see so many people publishing very fast, or that you put your heart and soul into a series or a book and even years worth of work, and then you know that you're still behind or your income is still dropping, and all of that stuff is kind of like the behind the scenes parts of trying to mix your greatest passion of writing with also trying to make it a business, right? And support your family, because George is not working. He hasn't had a job. I got to retire him back in 2013, and he hasn't had to have a job since 2013, which is an amazing thing. And I'm so grateful that we can do that as a family. But that puts a lot of the responsibility on myself and my writing. So when I start thinking about how many books and how many series I had started, I started to really panic, because if I have to say I made one, it's sort of a mistake and sort of not a mistake, right? That if I made one big mistake in my writing career, it was that I got so excited about all these different stories that I wasn't thinking about the big picture. I was just like, ooh, I'm going to start this series and I'm going to start this series. So a few years ago, before I got pregnant with Evie, I had 5 series going. I had the Willow Harbor series, Sacrifice Me, which is a spinoff of the Shadow Demon series. I had the Spirit Walkers series going, Shadow Demon Saga, the main series, and this Eternal Sorrow series. All 5 series going at once. And I was only writing maybe 2 or 3 books at a time. So that meant I couldn't even release one book in every series a year. And when you start especially as an indie author, like traditional publishers all the time will take a year or more between books, right? But for those of us that are indie, we should be putting books out more quickly, or at least readers expect that. So I started to panic. And so that's just kind of the behind the scenes truth of it all. I started to panic about not being able to put out the books fast enough. So when I started working on Fate's Surrender, my real thought was, I just want to get this book done so that I can keep moving forward, which was very much against who I am as a person. And as you will start to notice probably in your own life, but also in my life, is whenever I try to do something that is not really true to myself because I'm thinking about the business side of things, or how can I just get through this so I can get to the next thing for my business strategy, it always goes wrong for me. In the very beginning, all the way back in November of 2018, when I first started this book, if I had just said, okay, maybe this will be another couple of books, and just opened myself to the possibility that maybe this would not be the end of the series, I might have gotten through this book a lot faster. But I resisted it all the way to the bitter end. And I know Mason was talking about just a second ago, he mentioned that they were watching the NaNoWriMo Diaries. So over on my writer channel, which is called Heart Breathings, which actually is like only maybe 200 people away from 40,000 subscribers, which is really cool. So if you're not following me over there, come join us on Heart Breathings. But I tried so hard to finish this book for that December release date. And I was pushing myself so hard to try to get it done. And I just really needed to go through the process of, let's see where this book is going to end up. Let's try to finish this ending. Let's try to, and I plotted and replotted and plotted and replotted. And when I go through and was that very last night was trying so hard to get that final scene out, I was in this office and I sat down on the floor and started crying. It was like 4 a.m. And I thought, George is right. I'm trying to stick 2 climaxes onto the end of this book and end it quickly. And when I hit a point in the middle of the night where I was trying to just get an ending on it, whether it was good or not, I was like, well, that's not going to happen, because I will never, ever, ever be that person who says, I don't care if it's a good book. I'm just going to get it out because I need to move on. So I had to give up and just accept the fact that it was not going to be finished. And it was disappointing. But I will say that the book that just released today is something I am super, super proud of. It is not the final book in the series. Even one of my beta readers texted me and he said, you know what? I didn't know what you meant when you said, stop reading. It's not good enough. It needs another book. It's not going to come together. He was like, the story was so good. I didn't understand why you were saying it's not going to be good enough. It's not going to work out. And he's like, now that I've read the new version of it, I totally understand what you were saying. I know, and I get it. And it's so very good. So I just wanted to get that out there, that from me, in terms of those of you that are my readers and my fans, one thing I cannot promise you is, fast releases, that this next book in the series is going to be out in, March. That may not be me, that I'm going to be the fastest writer you've ever found. And yes, you will get cliffhangers along the way. So then you'll be like, oh, I hate this. I got to wait for the next book. But I will promise you 100% every single time that I will give 100% of myself. I may not be the best writer, but I will always give every book my very best. And I will never put out a book that I'm not proud of, that doesn't feel like it is the very best thing that I could write. So you can at least know you get that from me. And yes, like Grace says, the muse always wins. And this is absolutely true. And this is why this book was such a gift to me, because even though it was truly one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult book I've ever written, it definitely was 100% a gift, because I learned so much about myself, and that if I would just stop resisting, just being myself and writing the books the way I know they need to be, and giving myself over to the fact that the muse does always win, then I will I will always end up better as long as I followed that, right? Instead of trying to be something I'm not, instead of trying to compete with other people. And it was such a gift today to wake up. Christabelle posted yesterday in the Coven that, oh my gosh, the book is up early on Amazon, which I had to do that because Amazon had canceled the pre-orders. So if you pre-ordered on Amazon, and you're wondering why it is not on your device, Amazon canceled those pre-orders. So you have to go and purchase it again. So please go. Right now, I'm only at about half the people that pre-ordered it have now purchased it. So I hope that I did not lose the other half of those sales. So if you pre-ordered it, please go and purchase it again. You won't be charged twice. They just canceled the other one. But it was like, I was so nervous going to bed last night because I was like, what if the cover isn't there? The book looked weird. It wasn't all the way up. And when I woke up this morning, it was so exciting to see that the cover was there. I was in the top 100 on all of Apple books. I was #1 in my category at Apple, sitting there right with Nora Roberts and Brandon Sanderson and the Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is an amazing book. So it was just so much fun to wake up to that. And even still, I think on Amazon, I have a #1 new release tag, and I am #1 in 4 different categories on Amazon. So it just means the world to me to know that after all of that work and all of that struggle, you guys still showed up for me and still purchased the book. And that means so much. So it's kind of like, okay, so this is awesome. What's next? So next we are going to do what I'm calling a game board strategy. I did see a question that was interesting go by. So I'm going to kind of scroll back. I don't know if there's been too many things because I saw Matt, I think, asked, why did you decide to give your zombie apocalypse series books names that sound like romance novels? Which I think is really interesting because I've never thought of them sounding like romance novels because the word death never makes me think of a romance novel. But I think that partially Death's Awakening, Sorrow's Gift, obviously Death's Awakening is about death is waking up, like, because it's not just, if you read the books, you'll know that it's not just death as in zombies, but there is a supernatural reason for this particular story. It's not a virus that was caused by a military experiment, as is the typical trope in zombie fiction. This particular virus was started by an evil necromancer who has been kind of sleeping in ice for over 1,000 years. So it's Death's Awakening has that kind of double meaning. Sorrow's Gift is because my character is Parish Sorrows, and we get to know what her gift is for not only the fact that, well, I don't want to give it away, but she is like the other guardians that she gets to know, but she also is her own unique person who has a little bit different abilities than the others. Fate's Surrender was sort of more like letting go of fate, but like not letting go, but it's actually, I have just had a moment of my own awakening. Fate's Surrender, I will always now remember as being a moment when I learned to surrender to the Muse. That is deep. Muse surrender. Muse surrender. I'm surrendering to the Muse. Yes, I feel totally like surprised by that, but awesome. I need a title for book 4 because I did not expect there to be another one. I kept thinking of something like Journey's End, but then I started thinking that sounds too much like a Pirates of the Caribbean novel. I'm going to have to think of a similar type of book title for book 4, but I have already contacted Raven and talked to her about it, and she is on schedule for April to create book 4's title. So if anybody has any really brilliant ideas for a title for book 4, the original title for this original book was called Pandemic, but Pandemic to me eventually when I started to work on it sounded too much like a pure zombie virus book, and I needed something that had a fantasy feel to it. And there are actually 2 strong romance subplots in this book. So I think that kind of lets you know this is definitely a genre mashup. So definitely happens there. So it is super deep. Okay, I'm glad that you guys are with me on this. I love those kind of moments too, for sure. Okay. So what we're going to do here is I am going to give away another book. So what we're going to give away next is a copy of Beautiful Demons. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to make a comment if you would like to, and we will give away a book. But I'm going to talk a little bit about what comes next and what my game board strategy is. So I'm actually going to, on my other screen here, I am going to pull up my books in progress page, and I'll share this with you guys. Lots of things coming up. Accomplished end. That's not bad. Yeah, you guys are going to have to send me your ideas. Hopes rebirth. That's really good too. Accomplished goal. I do like the word accomplished. I'm going to have to start thinking of some stuff, y'all. I love the ideas. Keep them coming. Yes, we're going to do a giveaway. Beautiful Demons. So if you have not started this series yet, or you're new to my books, or you've only been following me over on Heart Breathings, this is, so Death's Awakening, Sorrow's Gift, Fate's Surrender is called my Eternal Sorrows series. And even though it was, Pandemic's End, envy. I like that. Of course, then it would be like, is it really going to be over, or is the world just going to be dead? I don't know. Dark One's End. I don't know. I got to think. Keep them coming. So I started that series first in terms of writing, then totally rewrote it and didn't start publishing that till 2013. But that is my least best-selling series, I would say, for sure, other than maybe like a new series. Beautiful Demons, however, starts my most popular series. This particular series is called the Shadow Demon Saga. It started out as the Peachville High Demon series. And then once I started publishing it again, like after I made it through one story arc and expanded the series, I changed the series title to the Shadow Demon Saga. This series has sold over 500,000 copies. So this one is like ridiculously more popular, but y'all, Eternal Sorrows series, I think I have a lot of people that don't pick it up because they're like, zombies. But I think that you will still love it. If you like my Shadow Demon Saga, I know that you'll still love the Eternal Sorrows series, so just give it a chance. But this is by far my best-selling series. And we are on book 11 in the main series, and there are many side stories as well. So if you have not started this series, you will love it. Book 1 is called Beautiful Demons. They are all available in paperback on Amazon, but also on Barnes & Noble if you're here in the US. And if you want to check it, you can, or check it out for free, you can get the first 3 books in a box set called the Beautiful Demons box set for free as well. So, and you can read it on Wattpad if you'd rather read it over there. So Nicole says, I am on book 6 of the Shadow Demon Saga and loving it. Yeah, and nothing to lose, right, Angela? Death's Awakening is now free for the first time. So Fate's Finale. Oh man, I wish I hadn't used Fate. Death Slumber. That's really good too. I wouldn't have thought of the word slumber, but I do like that. I have so many to read. Trust me, they will go by quickly. I promise, because they are fast reads and it becomes, I think, a fast story. In the first 6 books, you only have Harper's point of view, but once you get to book 7, it splits into 4 points of view. So I will just leave it at that and not spoil who all the 4 points of view are. But since you guys have commented, I'm going to give it just a second and a little bit of a scroll here. And Jane Barton, you have now won a paperback copy of Beautiful Demons. If you already ordered one from the sale that I had a little while ago, then I will send you book 2 instead. But just let me know. All you have to do, Jane, congratulations, is send an email to me at sarah@sarahcannon.com with your address and full name, and I will send this out to you. So I need to actually write these down because then I'll be like, who won these? Of course, I know Janet is here. If you guys have not met Janet, she is my online marketing manager and she is changing my life. Also, if you guys didn't know, this is another thing of fate, is Janet and I have the same birthday. How crazy is that? So both of us will have our birthdays next Saturday. So crazy. It was just meant to be. It was a sign. All right. So Oh, yeah, you don't have it. So that's awesome. Congratulations. So exciting. All right, so let's talk about this game board strategy. And then I'm going to ask you guys, actually, I'll ask you now, and then I'll talk and give you a chance to actually respond because we got about 30 minutes left of the live stream. Thank you so much, Christabelle. You are amazing. You guys, if you don't know Christabelle, also just a quick shout out to her and a thank you for everything that she does. If you are not in the Coven, which is Sarah Cannon's Coven, my reader fan group, you got to come join us because it's such an amazing, fun group of people. And Christabelle is our moderator and she keeps everything running. And I am so very grateful for her every day. So thank you so much for that. All right. Quick question that I will let you guys answer. Happy birthday in advance. Thank you, Anne. I have 3 things queued up. I didn't want to read from the new release today because it's too spoilery. Pretty much the entire book is too spoilery because I don't want to give anything away because their powers grow and all kinds of things happen. But I do have a few scenes, 3 different scenes that are queued up from the first book. One is Crash's point of view. And it is the first time that he sees a video. He's really a gamer guy who is always online on the forums. He's a prepper. So he's really been into like prepping for an apocalypse and that kind of thing. If I read that one, it is his first scene where he gets a video that shows the zombie apocalypse. It's not super scary, but it just is like, whoa, what is this that we're dealing with here? Carmen has a scene also, which is her first time seeing zombies, where she has a trip to the mall and there are people there that are not the same as all of us. Parrish also has a scene where this is the first time, not a zombie scene, but they do talk about the virus some. So I don't want to talk about if it's going to upset anybody because it's not real. This is actually just, fiction, but it feels a little bit more real today than it used to when I wrote it. But Parrish it's like maybe 11-page scene. So it's a little bit long where she gets the first hint of her powers. So if you would like to hear one of those scenes, you can say Crash, Carmen, or Parrish. Or if you really and truly feel like you just don't want to hear anything zombie related or virus related because it will upset you, then just go ahead and say that too, and we just won't read a scene. So let me know what you think. Okay, so you guys can see the top. I didn't know it would show you the top. So you can see how many people have visited my website today. But anyway, this is my sort of game board strategy. So here on my books in progress tab, if you go to sarahcannon.com, you've got all these tabs up at the top, or if you're on mobile, it'll be the little 3 hashes that you press and it'll bring it down. The last tab here is called Books in Progress. And I did start this page. You guys saw this. I started this page earlier this year, but then I just didn't get a chance to keep it updated. But now I am going back to it and I'm going to keep it updated. So what I'm going to do is keep a list here of everything that I'm working on. Instead of, this is kind of after I talked to my business mentor, Amber, because I really am not good, as you guys can tell, at saying this book is coming out on December 15th and being able to stick to that unless I were to finish the book and then announce a release date far in the future, which I don't really want to do that either. So I have decided instead of setting a bunch of release dates. Now, Vengeful Darkness is already on pre-order and that book is coming out on May 11th. It is coming out. I'm going to finish it early. I've already started working on the plot for that book. So Vengeful Darkness will be out on time. But other than that, I'm not putting anything up on pre-order that I haven't finished yet, at least a rough draft of. So instead of basically what a game board strategy is instead of saying this book is coming out on May 1st. This book is coming out on June 1st. This book is coming out on August 1st. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically take the pieces of the game, which is my writing, so to speak. So I'm going to say, okay, this year I am working on One Wish, which is a short story set in the Shadow Demons world from the Ruby Gates, and it's based on Aladdin. It's going to be awesome. And The Witch's Door. Obviously, I'm going to be working on that and reading it live here. I'm going to be working on Vengeful Darkness. After that, I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be working on The Witch's Spell. And yes, Jane, there will be a book 12 for the Shadow Demon Saga. I have not announced the title for that yet, but that will be the final book as far as I know. Of course, the way we are right now, I can't guarantee that is the final. But instead of saying what date things are coming out, I'm going to decide the order things are coming out. Because I have finally finished this book, the next thing on my plate is deciding my 90-day plan and deciding the order of my releases. So what will happen is, let's say I take all the pieces, like I have these little laminated book covers that I just made, printed out the photo and laminated them. So I will take all of these. They're currently up on this bulletin board behind me. You can kind of see the bulletin board there. So I will go ahead and I will pull all those down for all the books I plan to work on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide and line them up in the order I'm going to work on them, kind of like a game board, like a Monopoly board. And when I finish one book, it will put into play another book further down the line. Does this make sense, or is this a little confusing? Instead of saying, oh, book 4 comes out in August, I will just say book 4 comes after Vengeful Darkness, or whatever I decide is the order. And then I'm not going to worry about release dates. I'll just worry about triggers. So it's like when I finish this rough draft, that triggers a release date and a cover reveal for the next thing. Kelly, the Witch's Spell title was kind of released when I did the new covers during the Spooktacular. So I have already kind of mentioned that I've made a cover with Raven called The Witch's Spell, but I am not 100% certain that that will stay the title for that book. So it might change, but it will be book 3 of the series. But I don't know for sure that I'm 100% married to that title. But I kind of have this whole system that I'm putting into place of rough draft, triggers, cover reveal, maybe pre-order, release date announcement. And then while I'm working on the edits, I will know now this is the next book I'm working on. So when I finish the edits on this book, it triggers rough draft and plotting of this next book. So it'll be kind of like a lined up order of book covers that don't have dates on them. And as soon as I know when I'm starting it, I get to move this piece onto the game board, which is going to be my calendar. So I will move it on and I'll say, okay, now this book starts in August. And I think that that is going to be a really good way for me to maintain my mental health and to kind of gamify the whole process for myself, so that it doesn't feel like I'm behind, but instead it feels like a treat to be able to move on to the next game piece in a way. So what I will do is on this page that's called Books in Progress, I will update you on which book becomes kind of the next piece unlocked on the game board. Right now, this is the game board as it stands. Fate Surrender is published, almost 90,000 words published. It's you can get the first 2 books and you've got the links and everything here. One Wish is my short story that I was talking about from the Ruby Gates, and it's based on Aladdin. You guys know the different anthologies that I've done. Once Upon a Star had my I always forget what I ended up calling that short story, because I always used to call it Hacked, but now it's called Loxley. Thank you. Okay. I'm just thanked myself for reminding me of it. Once Upon a Star has Loxley in it, which is my short story where they're inside a game. And Once Upon a Ghost has my short story about the Cinderella girls on a haunted house. And then I also have Once Upon a Kiss, which has my story Red in it. And I saw somebody asked, will I be writing more with Red? So I'm going to go over that in just a second, but I also want to get a chance to read a little bit too. So The Witch's Door is also like One Wish is halfway done, and I'm hoping to finish it this weekend during our writing retreat. The Witch's Door is what is started next. And I actually do have about 6,000 words on that, but I just haven't updated this to put that on there because I don't know how much of that I'm going to use. But I will be reading that on YouTube and posting it to Wattpad for free, just like I did before. But I will also be doing a few extras that go along with that, including an audiobook for The Witch's Key. Then Vengeful Darkness is the next book on the game board, which is Shadow Demon Saga book 11. That one is going to be over 100,000 words for sure. And that is coming out on May 11th. So when I am finished with One Wish, which is the next piece on the game board, I will then add another piece down to the bottom. So if you want to keep updated on which piece of the puzzle comes next. So One Wish is not going to be related to Red, even though it is a ruby gate. They're going to be in a different place. So good question, but no. Oh, Matt is on Wattpad. Cool. Go ahead and post your link for us. We'd love to read your stories. So yeah, Wattpad is going to have The Witch's Door. It will not have Fate's Surrender on there just yet, but it should be really fun to have this sort of game board strategy, I think. And I think it'll be fun to continue kind of unlocking new levels to what book comes next. Originally, I had planned to finish Vengeful Darkness and go straight into book 12 and do a read along that would be 16 weeks of read along in between that and book 12's release. I don't know if that's still going to be the plan, but I will keep you guys updated. So here is Matt's name there, M Brownstone W35, if you want to go follow over on Wattpad. Hichiko says, do you know how to make a book cover? So yeah, I know that you're an artist, right? So you could draw your own book cover if you wanted to. There are tutorials here on YouTube about how to create a book cover. I personally am terrible at book covers, so I don't do them myself. But these book covers for Fate's Surrender and all the Shadow Demon Saga were expensive. They were done by an artist named Raven, and these are about $500 or $600 a piece. But The Witch's Key is something that I bought through a Facebook group. So Hichiko, if you're on Facebook, there's a group called Book Cover Design Marketplace. And a lot of people will do pre-made covers there that you can get inexpensively. So this was about a $200 or $250 cover, which I know is still expensive, but you can get book covers there for as low as $50. So yeah, I don't have a lot of great tips because I don't make them myself, but there are some other good tutorials here. I feel like maybe, I don't know. This is a good topic for my other channel though, for sure. Anaya also on Wattpad, if you guys want to follow her link, if you're over there on Facebook. So lots of good stories over there. If you guys want to check them out, maybe we should start. Oh, Bethany Adazada has a good video on her channel. So if you want to check her out. George says, I need active people on Discord who think the word meters need a new improved version. Otherwise, I'll never remember to do it. Yeah, so if you're interested in these word meters where I've got the colors filled in and stuff, this is something that George made for me because I wanted it on my website. And we've talked before about trying to make a new and improved version of these. So if you're interested in that, where you can change your covers and all the colors and the titles and stuff, let him know for sure, because we would love for him to do that. All right. I saw a lot of votes for Crash's chapter, so I'm going to read that. It is maybe one of the scarier ones of the bunch, but it's also really fun. Let's see how many pages it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this is one of the shorter ones, but we're going to read it. I will just warn you for just a minute, if you are here and you are not a fan of zombie stuff, that this does have a touch of not only hospital virus stuff, which I know can be triggering for some people, but also it is a zombie apocalypse, and you're going to see a little bit of that. Nothing graphic, but a little bit scary. So if you need to dip out now, you may do so. But thank you for coming to my release party. So Wattpad, yeah, so thank you, Renee. Wattpad is like a website or an app. You can get it both ways, where a lot of times newer writers, but sometimes seasoned writers as well, actually will post stories one chapter at a time for other people to read, and you can comment on it. You can give feedback. Sometimes people will post like once a week or 3 times a week or so on, but you can follow a lot of new authors on there as well as seasoned authors. And some authors have gotten like movie deals and all kinds of stuff from Wattpad, publishing deals and stuff like that. But it's also a really cool place to get started and share your work if you'd like, to kind of get feedback and comments on it. So yes, Jennifer, this is a scene from Death's Awakening, which is book 1 in the series. All right, so this is Crash's point of view. Crash, like I said, is he's a gamer guy who lives on his own in an apartment in in the basement in Washington, D.C. All right, here we go. So it can be for fan fiction if you want to, and then I'll leave it. All right, here we go. Chapter 20, Crash. The amount of information out there was overwhelming. Night had turned into morning at some point, and Crash had barely even noticed. His basement apartment was cool and dark, much more appropriate for his mood than the bright sunny day showing on his security cameras outside. He stared at his computer monitors. The information was an addiction now. He'd been talking to some of his buddies on his favorite Doomsday Prepper forum. They'd started a few new threads, sharing the most recent and important information and videos they'd been able to find online. It hadn't escaped his notice that 5 or 6 of the regulars had stopped posting altogether. Crash refreshed the page to see if anything new had been posted in the past half hour. A couple of news articles, 6 new videos, a new report on the death toll in Georgia and Texas. Nothing groundbreaking. He was watching one of the latest videos when the new message sound dinged. He clicked over to his inbox and read the subject line of a new private message from his friend Atomic. Priority. What the hell are we dealing with here? Crash double-clicked the message, his heart racing and his hand gripping the mouse. Hey man, I just came across this new video posted to a private forum I belong to. The dude who posted it said he has a cousin who works for this news station and that he risked everything to get this footage out there. Watch it and get back to me. What the hell are we dealing with? Do you think this could be legit? If it is, my mind just got blown. Atomic. P.S. How are you feeling? Any signs? There was a video attached to the message, and Crash leaned forward in his chair. He moved the video player to his center screen and pressed play. An older man with salt and pepper hair spoke into a microphone that had the letters WKBX on the handle. He looked like your typical reporter in a suit and tie with a heart-on for breaking news. Crash had seen dozens just like him in the videos he'd watched so far. The only difference was that this guy had one of those white surgical masks stretched across his face, as if that would protect him in a hospital full of infected. This is Neil Snow reporting for WKBX Raleigh, the reporter said in his best trained for TV voice. I'm here at the Raleigh Hospital where a quarantine has been in effect for the past 4 days. Under special orders from the governor, our news crew has been allowed inside the quarantine zone for an exclusive look at what is going on behind closed doors. The reporter motioned to the door behind him, which was labeled Morgue in bold black letters. And one of the first doors we're going behind is the one with the biggest secrets of all. Contrary to what some officials want you to believe, the flu that has brought patients here in droves is much worse than the seasonal flu, the swine flu, or any other strain of the flu we've seen in recent years. In fact, some doctors here are saying this outbreak will be several times worse than the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic that killed an estimated 50 million people worldwide. Some of the images we're about to show you may be disturbing. Pausing for effect, the reporter stepped in front of the door and drew his eyebrows together in a serious expression. After a moment of silence, he opened the swinging door to the hospital's morgue. Inside the room, bodies were stacked on top of each other, up to 6 feet high along the walls. Even though Crash had seen similar images in previous videos, he still felt his gut churn. The reporter explained the images as the camera operator slowly panned from one end of the room to the other. More than 1/3 of the patients who were being treated at this hospital are now found here in the morgue. As you can see here, this facility has run out of room for their normal procedures and have started to stack the bodies of the dead on top of each other. A doctor I spoke to when I arrived estimates that the number of dead will be double by the end of the day tomorrow. The camera settled back on the reporter. We've been told that bulldozers are expected to arrive in the morning to begin digging out mass graves, something that is completely unprecedented here in the United States. When questioned about the legalities of this decision, authorities, a scuffle off camera caught the reporter's eye and he jerked backwards. The camera operator swung around and Crash could barely make out the figure of a girl in a hospital gown. The camera lurched wildly. Crash heard shouts, but in the chaos, he didn't understand what was happening. He leaned as far forward as he could in his chair and tried to make sense of the jumpy images on the screen. A bare, dirty foot limping toward the camera. The reporter shouting, "Someone get a doctor!" The sound of shoes squeaking against the tile floor. Finally, the image settled down and Crash could see the reporter reaching out to the girl. She was definitely a patient. By the bruise-like rings around her eyes, it was obvious she was infected. But what was she doing down here in the morgue? The camera operator had taken a spot across the room, and his hands were shaking, but at least the images made sense now. The image zoomed in slightly on the reporter and the girl. "It's okay, sweetheart," the reporter said. "We're going to get a doctor for you, okay? Now, where did you come from?" The girl, who couldn't have been more than 12 or 13, reached out as if to take the man's hand. Then, suddenly, she lunged forward and sank her teeth into his forearm. The reporter let out a high-pitched, terrified scream and tried to yank his arm away from the child. In his chair, Crash jumped back, startled. In addition to the reporter's scream, the camera picked up a low, rumbling sound. The man operating the camera must have heard it too because he swung around toward the stack of bodies behind him. The moan grew louder. The camera operator backed away, then tripped over something and fell to the floor, screaming. The screen went dark and Crash sucked in an uneven breath. He brought a trembling hand to his mouth, trying to make sense of what he'd just seen. What the hell was happening there? Patients attacking reporters? Or worse, dead patients attacking reporters? But that wasn't possible, right? That was something that happened in movies and video games, not real life. Crash took a second to breathe and calm the beating of his heart. Then he started the video again. Dun, dun, dun. It is so, I know it's so crazy to think of how this, it's just so, yes, and actually when we first got word over a year ago, somebody had posted something about the COVID situation in China. And I mean, never in a million years did I think it was going to come here or be something we'd still be dealing with a year plus later. But somebody tagged me in a video about it and they were like, "Oh, this is so much like what you wrote in Death's Awakening all those years ago." And it's like, it is chilling a little bit. The only difference is that I don't have them wearing masks like we would be in person. The other big thing is that in this series, you'll see in the beginning, the news reporters actually try, for the most part, the news tries to downplay the virus. Whereas I feel like in our society, it's been like a little bit like, I don't want to say overplayed, but I do feel like there is a lot of fear being pushed out there too. And it is a real threat. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm just saying like, you know, everybody's definitely been talking about it for sure. Whereas in my book, they do kind of hide it for a while because they're freaking out about it. But Kelsey says, so good. I don't even like zombie stuff, but I want to read it. You guys definitely should pick it up. It is the kind of book I feel like maybe sort of, it's one of those books that at the very beginning, you're kind of like, okay, you kind of get to know the characters and their life before things happen. But once you get to the scene where Parrish wakes up and her mom is coughing and calling for her, I think after that, you do not stop reading. At least that's the way I feel about it. And book two starts out with a bang. It starts out with a battle scene right from the start. But book 3, you'll start to see that it also is something that has a slow beginning to it. But once you get to about 3 or 4 chapters in, you get to a really big like place that you just won't want to stop reading. So definitely check for sure, because I want to hear what you guys think. I don't think I've even had a single review yet for Fate's Surrender. So when you get done with the book, make sure that you leave a review, because I definitely would like to see it. And as Christabelle just posted, Death's Awakening, this book that I just read from, is totally free to download. So you don't have anything to lose to go and pick it up. And even if you don't want to read it, it actually helps me if you go and download it, especially from Amazon or places like Google Play, because it improves my ranking and helps other people see it. So even if you know you're not going to read it, just go download it for free, give it a shot if you want, or share it with your friends. But this has been such a cool journey to get to this point. I am actually going to do one more giveaway, which is a set of posters from my Beautiful Demons series. It's a poster of Beautiful Demons, Inner Demons, and Bitter Demons. So you'll get 3 posters signed by me and sent to you. So I'm going to do this one last giveaway. Give you guys just a second to comment. If you are watching on the replay, no matter where you're watching from, on Facebook or on YouTube, I'm also going to be giving away a paperback copy of Death's Awakening. Christabelle, also, just so you know, I'm going to be sending you all 3 of these books in paperback, just as a thank you for all that you do. Fate's Surrender is actually already out in paperback. So if you would prefer to read the physical copy, this is the first time the paperback for me has released on the same day, other than maybe The Witch's Key, which no, I think even The Witch's Key came out a little bit late. So yes, if you would like the paperbacks instead, they are available in Amazon for sure. I'm not sure if they're all up at Barnes & Noble yet, but I think that you'll like those for sure. All right. Posters, they're, I don't have an example of them, but they're like maybe this big. All right, going to scroll up and choose a winner. Tina Malone, you are the winner of the poster set. So I will send these out to you. Just send me an email at sarah@sarahcannon.com with your mailing address, and I will send them to you as soon as I get a chance. Paperbacks of Beautiful Demons will be going out soon. The Death's Awakening paperback will go out to someone who leaves a comment, and you know, just any of these places where I have gone live today, just leave a comment and I will choose the winner on, let's see, what's today, Friday. I'll choose the winner on Wednesday of next week. So Jen asked, will there be signed copies of the paperback? What do you guys think? It is a little bit of work, and I know it takes me a while to get them out, but I'm more than happy to offer signed copies of either just Death's Awakening, or if you want to buy all 3, or just for 1 and 2 or whatever. She says, because I want the full set. So I would be more than happy to do that, to offer a limited time signed copies of the full set or of just Death's Awakening. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I can set up a pre-order for those and go ahead and get those ordered. Right now, it is taking Amazon about a month to ship out the books because of all the pandemic stuff. I think there's actually paper shortages, which then George gets mad at me because I have so much paper in my office. I'm like, well, it's not my fault. So anyway, thank you guys so much. Oh, somebody says I would buy the posters. I should put them up on my website. Do you want to bring the baby down too? Want to tell Daddy bring the baby down? I'm sure you guys want to see the baby. Oh, here she is. We dressed her up for the occasion. She is dressed up as Cinderella. You want to say hi? Are you celebrating? Are you celebrating? Here, let's turn this down so everybody can see you. And we got Andrew here in his Minecraft shirt. Yep. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Yep. All right, you guys. Oh, full set, full set. All right. Let's not talk about papers. Nilda, I hear you. I hear you 100%. It's not our fault. It's not our fault. Yeah, so if we want to do all 3 signed, we can absolutely do that. I'll give you guys a choice since there's so many people interested. I'll give you a choice. You can either, like on the form, you can either order just Death's Awakening if you just want 1 book, or you can order all 3 as a set. And I'll give you a choice for any of those. Jane says, my son says your shirt's the best, Andrew. Must have another Minecraft fan over there. All right, you guys, thank you so very much. I will post we'll talk about it next Friday. So next Friday, we're going to have another coffee chat this same time, but only on YouTube. Join us every Friday. It will be my little birthday celebration and Molasses and Forget-Me-Nots. This is Janet, my online marketing manager. It's her birthday next weekend as well. So we'll have kind of a little birthday party celebration next weekend. Who is streaming next for the retreat? Angela is going live actually probably right about now for the retreat. If you guys are writers and you want to come join my writing group, I think it's just facebook.com/groups/HB Writing Sprints. I'm pretty sure. But if you go to my Heart Breathings channel, you can find a link to that. And yeah, Angela is going live next, and then Rhiannon will go live. But we're having kind of a little writing retreat over in that Facebook group this weekend. Let me back that up. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you so much for downloading the books. Definitely go and grab them. Thank you for helping me celebrate the release. If you have not checked out this book, again, you can get the first book, Death's Awakening, for free pretty much everywhere, or you can read it free on Wattpad. And if you would like to support book 2, you can buy it for $3.99, but you can read book 2 currently free on Wattpad as well. But book 3 is only available at all of the different vendors like Google Play, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and Apple Books. So go grab it, you guys. Thank you so very much. I love you guys. Say bye-bye.
Bye.
George, you can at least wave. Headless George giving a wave. All right, we'll see you guys later. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll see you next weekend. Did you say bye? Bye. Yeah.